my interest became great because I faced so much discrimination when I was growing up in the East End. And what I found is when you teach somebody, because discrimination is really ignorance, it's not knowing. So my idea was to teach not only blacks, who I find a lot of them don't have a clue as to where they came from or who, or they just don't know, as well as other communities, they're not aware either. They see the center, but they don't know all the history behind it, or they didn't, they could never imagine at one time this whole area was basically black people. It's hard to envision because it's so, well, one of the things they've done, they've gentrified it, so you have a lot of people that have a few more coins coming into the community. And the people that were here have moved to the suburbs or moved away completely. So it would help students, it would help everyone, I think, just to come and learn the history, to see, to become a part, to feel it, which is also very much a part of Montreal's history. Anyone who came from anywhere, a black person, whether they came from the United States or the Caribbean, they ended up at the center. It was sort of a welcoming place for everyone. Where their parties were held, their meetings. As the years went on, they had camps for the children. There was day nurseries. There's a gym built on the top floor. It's not an official size gym, but nonetheless there's a not really a gym, a basketball court. And it was to, help keep the young people off the streets and that.
It was a very active community center, so I mean you could go there from the time you were about 3 years old in nursery school, and you'd still be going there when you're 82 years old. I mean, they had activities for everybody, all different age levels. It was a social service center, so people went there for all kinds of needs. They had Christmas activities, they had after-school activities, they had lunch programs. And these were activities that weren't just open to blacks in the neighborhood. They were open to all residents that wanted to belong to the NCC. At one time, half the board of the NCC was white, and we shared the facilities with the Iberley settlement that was there as well. So it really was a community center. It became far more focused as I grew older. It became far more focused with the emergence or the strengthening of black power and certainly more black consciousness in the community as the youth began to assert themselves. And you began to see a much stronger emphasis on black culture and actually the learning of it.
I've seen the NCC. I was part of the NCC at the time when it was still open. I was part of, actually, there was exactly what you're doing a bit today. There was one of the workshops and one of the ateliers was around interviewing, around filming and so on. So, and I was very much interested in that. So I was part of that particular workshop at the time. And I remember we even had, I don't know, was it one of Concordia's auditoriums? We had the candidate at the time, the Democratic candidate, Jesse Jackson, and we of the NCC went down to film him and everything, and we were actually presented with awards for finishing up that program out of the NCC.
For most people, what the NCC gave them was a sense of grounding. It helped to ground them in a world perspective. I mean, at that time, blacks were far more focused on what was going on outside of the boundaries of Canada. We were looking at every night. I mean, you turned on the TV every night and you saw some incident in Alabama or Georgia or Mississippi, or something going on with the civil rights. Things were happening in Africa. We had marches for African Liberation Day. We had anti-apartheid movement that was being supported. We had the National Black Coalition in Canada. We had a lot of things where our eyes were outside the borders of Canada, or certainly outside of our province, and we were looking at sort of the rise of black, for lack of a better word, black power or black strength, and the vision of black greatness coming back from Africa. So when you went to the Negro Community Center, that's what you learned, who the African kings were, the African queens, the great military was, the great culture of Africa, that kind of thing, and sort of reinforced, and things didn't happen in a vacuum. You realize it was part of a continuum of the black presence. I mean, humanity started in Africa, and we always felt like there would be a time when we would go back to the greatness that was Africa. And so learning about those kinds of things was really, for me anyway, it was very much a grounding experience.
Due to different circumstances, it closed down, all the programs stopped. So it's been closed for about 20 years. And since 2004, personally, I've been trying to have it open with a group of other people. There were other attempts in the past, but it's been a difficult task to have it reopen. I think that having it open would be so beneficial to everyone, because in our new our revitalization, we plan to be inclusive, which we always have been, but be more forward, more open, that it's in certain inclusivity for everyone.
We should be very upset. We need to be very upset, and we need to put our energies and our structure our ideas in a way where we can get this thing functionalized in an operation, apparentis modem. We need to really go there. We need to really because yes, we're upset. Yes, we're saddened. Yes, it's taken a long time, and every winter that goes by, it doesn't help. We've been lucky, in terms that the winters haven't been that hard, but nevertheless, we know that the place would need to be practically, well, I don't know how, the plumbery needs to go. It's plumbery from the 30s and 40s, that I know. But the structure is very solid.
If people don't know where they come from, and they don't know how they got there, then it's very difficult for them to really understand the structures and the barriers that are out there, and to understand ways that worked and didn't work to change the system. I think the youth today work, or they operate in a vacuum. They really don't know. It's sort of like information explosion, but not knowledge explosion. So you have a lot of different facts, but it's not really put together in a comprehensive fashion that these kids can really begin to understand the threads of history and how it affects them today. Most Canadians anyway are very ahistorical. We don't know our history. And certainly most of us have grown up with myths about blacks and about Canada's role with blacks. So it's not just the black children out there that are confused or lacking their own awareness. It really is something that I think is it's endemic to being, I guess, Canadian, and I think that's something that the community needs to work at trying to solve. And resurrecting the NCC, I think, most people would see that as a step forward in that direction.
I'm also the president of the Roundtable on Black History Month. So for me, that the NCC would have a part, a whole floor with the documentation center on the contributions and all the things related to the blacks in Montreal, in Quebec, and even in Canada. To me, this is where I want to go, and I will. I think if it's not done there, we need to do it elsewhere. But now we have a place that is so significant where we could have so many 50, 60, 70,000 people coming through the doors throughout the year from all over the world. You know, we could be touristic, could have a tourist attraction. So for the youth, I believe there's another component because everything is by square feet. You need to operationalize the place. You need to sell space. And they need to heat it up and everything. So you need people that are you need businesses, whether even community organization, that are that can sustain it by themselves. And it wouldn't be too cheap, especially a building of that, like high ceilings and so on. But the thing is, where I'm going with this is I'm saying the NCC is a threat to other organizations in Little Burgundy. Meaning, that's one of the reasons also why nothing is moving. Now I'm really getting down to where I want to go. Because it's a threat in the way that if the NCC reopens, the NCC would have enough space to have maybe even youth emotion.
One of the things, there's going to be places, we hope to have places for them to do such like what you're doing right now, media. A lot of young people are into singing and that kind of thing, but a place that they could be able to do their own recordings and things of that nature. We hope to have other organizations in there to help round it out, so to speak. The center can only do so much in, say, like in the matter of information, but with other courses, like let's say there's going to be a banquet hall there, because one of the things that we don't have in our community is a place to go and socialize. So there's going to be a small banquet hall with they call it a semi-professional kitchen. So we can give cooking courses there. Kids can, just come and be themselves, let's say, We're looking for people that are interested in starting such programs or have such programs. And the space is quite limited now, especially now the properties are being redeveloped. As you can see, it's been gentrified quite a bit. But we would still, so with the plan to have the center open, it would just sort of add to it, instead of bringing the busloads to come and look like, oh gee, look at that terrible building, it will be, look at, this is the historic part of the black community, so. And I think kids would gain some pride in that, a sense of pride in that.
Hopefully, if the NCC is revived, that's what's going to happen, is that the teaching coming from the NCC will give them much more structure and point them in the right direction, because they're going to be able to incorporate that in their lives and be able to move forward a little bit more strongly and comfortably, sure, about who they are and where they fit.
I think everybody needs an Afrocentric education. I mean, you're much younger than I am. How much did you learn about black history in school? And I mean, I learned just zero. So the last thing I remember in grade 4 was a story of Bunga, and believe me, there was a textbook, Bunga, who got his curly hair because there was a flyer that came over and singed his hair. I would love to get my hand on one of those geography books again. But so, and I mean, it hasn't, I wouldn't say it's improved all that much. You still have to go doing, your own sort of research to find out. I mean, I guess there's a cursory sort of education, like there's now a black president, but in all fairness, I must say that in a high school book in Ontario, the Colored Women's Club is mentioned with a picture. So we have progressed, but I still don't think enough.
Well, you never saw me without a book when I was young, or rarely saw me without a book. I mean, these books here reflecting what the organization is about. So we're very comprehensive. We have what is called a holistic program here. And so we're looking at the whole child, what affects all of their lives. So we have things like health and employment, stuff on community and history, of course, which is really important. But justice, we're very much interested in the issue of racial profiling and issues that affect children's lives today, because when they come through the door with their parents or they come alone and they tell us stories, we know that this is what's really what presents a real challenge for them to overcome. Learning one's history, as I said before, is about really understanding where you fit, and it's giving you that assurance that you can face those kinds of issues, and that you have a right to the system, to appropriate the system on your behalf. And if you always feel like you're foreign or you always feel like you're other, that's a very difficult sense of, that's self-confidence is very difficult to come by. So I would think for the kids today it's just as important to learn as I did about who they are, where they came from, the antecedents of their culture that they have now, because blacks are not a homogeneous population in Montreal. They're from many, many different countries. They bring a richness of culture and language. Many are trilingual, not just unilingual or bilingual. So they enrich the city.
The NCC needs to know how they're going to network. And having a documentation center is great, because the people from elsewhere will come to research. Schools will send their classes down at the NCC for visit, for research, for, you know, to educate, to broaden their mind. I think that's where we need to go. And also to look at what immediately, with who can we agree that will still stay within our mission, or at least comply to our mission of respect and of openness, inclusion, and everything. That can be part, and that will pay. That's crucial for the NCC's opening and for sustainability over the next 20 years, because make no mistake, money attracts money. If you can show the government, everyone, the corporate world, that you're a viable, that you're moving to, there's a movement of people moving together and being serious and being diligent with their money and how they spend it and everything. Well, right there and then, it'll attract money. It'll attract investors. People will recognize us. We need to start, and we haven't done that for many, many reasons. I'm not one to blame only us, and or to blame solely us. But we need to do it. I will start to blame myself but I'm mentioning it because I want others to come on board and see. We have le réseau here, Regroupement d'économie sociale du Sud-Ouest. They could help us. There's it's feasible. It's feasible. $52. I give more than $1 a week to homeless people on the street. And so many of us do give more than $1 a week. $52 a year is nothing. But when you put 60,000 people, I don't know why I have that magic number, but that's my target. You start to move things, man. And my first project is those two projects right down here.
It's been a struggle. You have to have lots of patience, which I guess I'm lucky. I've been blessed with that. I would say it's a bit of fun too. But a lot of times it's very frustrating. Yes, we've been going after funds to have it. The project itself is a $6.2 million project. In 2007, the mayor granted us $2.5 million, which was $2 million was contingent on the federal and provincial saying yes to the project. They gave us 0.5 right away, which we have in our own coffers. But we're still waiting, still lobbying to have the other two from the federal and the provincial to have the project completed. Actually, it was supposed to be up and running, I would say, at least 2 years ago. In speaking to various, because I've spoken just to about every minister that you can imagine, federal and provincial. I had an audience with the Governor General Um, but I'm hoping that this year will be the year. I just came from a meeting and within the borough itself, because that's what we're looking for borough support. Although we've gone to other people from out of the borough, but I'm hoping that that's where most of our support will come from. And the mayor's office, he has always been supportive of the project.
I think the day that the center opens its doors, there's going to be a lot of people saying, "Wow!" There's going to be the sense of they did it. They really did it. It's been a hard slog so far, and it'll give a sense of renewal, I think, for some people in the community. It'll be open for them to create new programs, for them to make a difference. And I think that's what it will signify, is that it's a change. It's like there was a before and now there's an after.
It's needed in the community. It's part of our heritage. It's our background. It's who we are. It's every other culture has something. And if you look around in Montreal, we're scattered all over. We are, some of us go back 6, 7 generations here in Montreal, in Canada, and you would never know it. You're not aware of it because there's nothing to show that. You have people that are here for 1 generation and it's in your face. There's so much to teach, there's so much to learn, there's so much that it represents. It's just a very, very important place.
If it's reopening, it's a blast. Everyone's there. Even Harper might come down or send someone, because everybody wants to get a little bit of the glamour, the glitz at that point, to cut the ribbon for sure. I'm dreaming of that day. I'm thinking of that day. That's the day I'm thinking about. And I'm thinking of the day of the first day when one would say even that the construction works, and a year and a half later that we're cutting the ribbon with all dignitaries and that the place is ready to go. And that's still my dream, I hope, and I hope I'll see. There's no reason for it not to happen. What's with giving back or investing 10 million in a community that is every day is connected to the downtown part? We still contribute. There's no more factories close by because of the Lachine Canal, but there's a lot of things happening down here. And 10 million in days where we every other day there's different condo complex being built. There's no reason for the NCC to stay like this. It's a damn shame, and we have to be. We really have to work together for it to see this day happen, that it opens.
I'm not so sure that. Certainly, my life has been enriched by my own Little Burgundy experience. The friends that I had there and the community that I had there, growing up there with my family. But I've experienced an awful lot more since that time. That's really allowed me to see different things, and that's what my writing is about: is to try to show how I fit into the picture. Here in Canada. So, if you're looking for a thread, really, that's really what it's about. It's finding that place, challenging the naysayers and saying, I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere, and I've been here, and this is my country too. This is my place, this is my city, this is my home.
Everybody's waiting to see somebody do the first step before they commit. The people in the community, I'd say, they have a cautious optimism. Some are quite jaded, but there is a cautious optimism. In speaking to people out of the community, they believe it. I think they believe it will happen, but they're waiting to see before they commit themselves, if you know what I mean. There is interest, and I know they would like to have it open, somewhere to go to. That place at one time, they used to have, dances and the kids would go and have fun. And there's really no place like that around anymore.
And the only way it's gonna happen is if we start organizing and centralizing. I'm not inventing the wheel. I'm just saying what everybody else is saying, but we're not doing. Why are we not doing? From ego trips to being too busy on a daily basis, or not, or just we've stopped believing in each other, and the level of trust is not there in the black community. Sadly to say, we need to change that. We need to change that, because we're. What are we going to leave to our children and our grandchildren? And what kind of message are we really sending? I hope we can put that together. Now I'm older, I'm more serious, I'm willing to work around a project like that. Because that's the only one that's going to... Money pulls in other money. But we're sitting here and all looking at how poor and sad and all our buildings falling apart. Je m'excuse, man. We have to try and do better. I feel cheap talking right now like this almost, because it's not good enough.